Today's topic is forgiveness into freedom. Forgiveness means forgiving, giving something away, giving something away that most likely you don't want to keep, such as pain and hurt. So forgiveness is very liberating. It is a way of giving away the pain and the hurt. Forgiveness has many levels. Forgiveness can mean, obviously, in terms of human relationships, but forgiveness can also go as deep as right to the very core of the soul. In a very casual way, everyone is already familiar with forgiveness when something bad has happened. In a usual relationship and friendship sense, somebody said something bad, it caused hurt and pain, and therefore forgiveness is needed. Forgiveness, in a spiritual sense, is very liberating, very healing, very liberating, and not only emotionally, not only on emotional level, but also on energetic level. And forgiveness starts with the most densest emotions, and then it goes more and more subtler. In a common sense, in a day-to-day life, interacting with other human beings, there is always something that goes wrong. There is always someone that even accidentally says something that may cause some hurt. It's very common in schools, between children, and it's very common at work spaces, environments, and even spiritual circles. So one may simply slip a few words, one may say something, one may not say something, one may do something that will cause a disturbance, a little pain, a little hurt, maybe feeling misunderstood, maybe feeling separated, or so. As you can see, forgiveness can seep into many other emotions. It's essentially something that goes wrong or something that happens wrong. Forgiveness is most obvious in the relationship sense. To your friends and family, but then forgiveness actually extends further into your environment, into the whole environment. It may be some other people at work, it may be other people, even in the shopping mall, just something happens. In the grocery store, something wrong also is maybe experienced at the level of collectivity, at the level of group that one may be part of, at the level of identity of a certain political party. Yes, if you just open a newspaper and start watching the evening news, there is a lot of forgiveness to be done. So one may get hurt by a persona on television speaking, a certain politician. It may cause an argument. Sports, yes, you wouldn't imagine how much energy is spent on discussing how many millions of men are discussing the latest sports events of other few men kicking the ball around the field. So it extends to various groups, to various fields of identities. It can also be on a city level, that something is going on in the local town and it's causing some pain. It can be on a national level, countrywide. And actually going into higher consciousness, such as unity and oneness consciousness, the pain extends to planetary level. It's called planetary consciousness, oneness consciousness. And therefore one starts to resonate with the planetary consciousness, with all humanity. You know the famous saying, why God has created so much suffering? It's even at the God level. So even at more higher, advanced levels of consciousness, such as oneness, unity, planetary consciousness, pain is experienced because of collective humanity, because of what's going on the earth. So now we're tapping more into more spiritual dimensions. One may resonate with the pain of humanity. One may resonate with the pain of destruction of environment. One may become more aware of even more subtler spiritual dimensions, such as astral, 4D, and start to resonate with what resides in the 4D and experience pain at that level. Going more up, one may connect to their higher self. And there are many discussions in the spiritual circles of feeling not belonging on this earth, of saying that one feels that they belong in the Pleiadian star system or Sirius star system, or even the another galaxy, and therefore they feel pain, simply put. The pain of not belonging, the pain of separation, of aloneness. going into higher dimensions, one may start identifying as a soul. And then the questions arise, why did I become a human? It was a big, free and liberated soul, and why become human? Why go into the lower dimensions? And the very deepest level of pain and separation is becoming a soul, because a soul is a spark of consciousness, spark of God, and it becomes an individuated soul. So therefore it becomes a dimensional problem. So forgiveness can go right to the very depth, to the deepest dimension, to the deepest place. And therefore, no matter how much one is advanced and residing at the higher levels of consciousness, being in a soul, in a certain energy, form, shape, and of course, body, we always face differences. We always face certain oppositions. We always face certain circumstances where something goes wrong or not as expected or not as wanted or seemingly unfavorable. So with the mere fact that there is a body, that there is a soul, this mere fact already makes one subject to the dualities and oppositions, and that something will go not as one wanted. So forgiveness becomes a non-dual practice. It becomes a way of resolving differences. It becomes a way of resolving pain at any subtle level, any hurt at any subtle level, any opposition, any resistance. It becomes a way of allowing these differences, allowing, so to speak, oppositions, allowing for something to go wrong in a relative sense. In absolute sense, awareness or consciousness, God, source, is not affected really by anything that's happening in the universe in a relative sense. So in absolute sense, it is not touched. Consciousness is not touched. It's not affected as such. But in a relative sense, in, so to speak, experiential sense, every living being in any dimension is subject to causality. So the only way out, or a way to liberation, is acceptance of limitations, acceptance of oppositions, acceptance of polarities, creating the space or expanding into the space of allowingness, because what happens, happens. So to create a space of allowingness for whatever happens, because it needs to play out. Whatever is happening presently, whatever is already set in motion. And through acceptance, allowingness, then with forgiveness, there is a way of, we may say, letting it go, or simply not controlling what happens. Sometimes action is needed, but sometimes it is simply better to not control and allow whatever is happening to happen. Because 90 or 95 or even 99% of all the things that you're experiencing are not in your capacity of control. For example, things that are occurring on a collective level. It's very rarely that one can really make a difference. For example, identifying with the collective pain of humanity has no benefit to identify with that pain, because it just creates one more person suffering with the collective pain of humanity. It is better to transcend these identities and resonances with pain, so that you can shine your light, love, healing to these fields. So as you transcend your identities and resonances with what is wrong, you start to shine the unconditional light, unconditional love, unconditional truth. And that does help on multiple dimensions. And that can make a difference on an energetic level, and that can transform the way that people think and eventually what people do. So therefore, the essence of forgiveness is recognition that something went wrong at any level, or simply that you resonate with something that is wrong at any level. At any level, from the most obvious hurtful actions of somebody to the very highest spiritual realms. So recognition that something either went wrong or is wrong is the very core of forgiveness in this context of today. Recognizing that something is wrong at any level is the first step, And the second step is acceptance, that it already is as such, and allowingness, because it already is as such, and therefore by acceptance and allowingness you create a space around that grudging wrongness at any subtle or crude level. So you create a space with acceptance and allowingness. You create a space around that sense, feeling that something is wrong at a certain level. By creating space of acceptance, allowingness, then you employ forgiveness as a way of fully surrounding it and fully acknowledging that it is okay and I forgive it. Therefore, I let it go. I let it be, I let it go. Letting it be is important, or so to speak, being with it. And that then creates even deeper space of letting it go. Of no longer meaning, of no longer needing to resonate with that wrongness at any deepest level. In many cases, especially in terms of human relationships, you might not be able to forgive only on your own. Because the energy is very tied to another person. So therefore, a resolution is needed. Therefore, it is necessary to meet in some way with another party, or at least to agree on forgiveness with another party, to bring it into a common field of awareness. And that is how permission is granted on the energetic level to release the resonance with the wrongness. When it comes to collective level, national, collective, and spiritual, higher dimensional levels, you can ask and instruct of requesting permission to meet that field of resonance and assistance and guidance to release the resonance of wrongness at that higher level. So that might be getting in touch with, if we speak about higher dimensions, spirit guides, higher beings, and to go back to those specific fields of resonances or timelines, and therefore to meet those specific points of wrongness, and through assistance, if it's not in your individual power, you can always ask for assistance, whether of guides or even of a person who can access those levels of spiritual dimensions, such as a healer or a spiritual teacher, and they may have higher access to be able to assist in resolution of these resonances of wrongness in whatever way they were created or are existing. So as you understand, forgiveness is a very vast subject. It is the essential healing, and it is necessary for the liberation of consciousness, liberation of your soul, and transcendence, coming back to awareness itself. Awareness is already present, it is here, but there is a resonance with the lower fields. There is a resonance with certain wrongness, with certain pain, for any kind of reason. And even if one is enlightened as such, it doesn't mean that one is not subject to something going wrong, so to speak. And I will explain it a bit more. So even if one is liberated, the physical body is still subject to disease and pain and death or passing away. So that's spiritual myth buster number one. Then the second part is, if one is liberated, so to speak, it doesn't mean that something wrong may go on emotional level or mental level. Liberation means not being immune to life. It means being life. It means being life and more than life, the source of life. So whatever happens on a physical, emotional, mental level, it happens. But liberation is being free from what happens. So that's where a little bit of confusion might reside, that you may think that you will not have any problems anymore, but you will have, so to speak, problems. This body will have, so to speak, problems. Life situations will have, so to speak, problems. But the question is, where is one's identity? Yes, where is one's identity? So with the realization of yourself as awareness, consciousness, there is a liberated state of being as awareness or consciousness. But it doesn't mean that life is not gonna go on. So if one was unemployed and had 2 children and suddenly became realized, you will still be unemployed and you will still have 2 children right in front of you asking for food and help and support and care and everything else. So liberation, it's you may say a shift of one's position, so to speak. A shift of one's experiential position. of no longer identifying as a person, or as a spiritual person, or as a non-dual person, or as whatever level of identity there is, but simply identifying as awareness, as consciousness, as liberated freedom, and everything else stays as it was. Life is as it is. Now, the good part of liberation is that once you come back to the original position as consciousness awareness, you start to live your life from that place. And therefore, you start to unwind the conditions. So if one was in a troublesome condition before liberation, let's say unemployed, having debts, and having some physical disease or family issues. So if that was the life situation before liberation, and liberation suddenly occurred, everything still is as it was. So you will still need to take care of your health, you will still need to repay the loan, you might still need to find a job, and you might still need to resolve the situations with the siblings and or parents or friends. So you will start to unwind the karmic cycles. Yes, that's another illusion, that if you become liberated, that suddenly all is gone, no more problems, everybody loves you, everybody's happy about you. Suddenly your parents see you as enlightened, all your friends know that you are enlightened. That's bullshit. That's not real. That's a wishful thinking. That's a wishful thinking. So your parents are still gonna see you as your kid. Your friends are still gonna like you or not like you. Those who not like you will not like you perhaps even more. Those who liked you will say something has changed. I don't know if I should like him or her anymore. You might actually come into more trouble in terms of relationships and your previous friendships. You may decide that you don't want this job anymore. So you may cause yourself additional issues of having to quit the job, having less finances, changing your lifestyle. So you see, liberation is a shift of position, and life where it was, it still is. But since a shift of position happens, you start to unwind the lower cycles of life. And therefore, as you live from a new place, you start to continuously unwind the lower cycles of life. And consciousness is very bright and sometimes brutal, because it will bring things into your awareness and experience to be resolved. So sometimes when you shift your consciousness into a higher level, it will be as a double-edged sword. That suddenly out of nowhere, these people will show up in your life and cause you troubles. Because life wants you to resolve those lower vibrational energies. So consciousness is very bright, it's very clear, and it's like a double-edged sword. Therefore, usually it's good to learn all the healing techniques. It's good to know how to take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, and it's good to know how to resolve traumatic situations and complex life situations before you come into liberation, because most likely it will be a lot smoother as it will happen. So life is difficult, yes. And living life means constantly facing challenges. It means constantly experiencing that something goes wrong, not as you expected or wanted. And in a liberated state, it's all fine. Things go wrong, fine. Something wrong happens, that's okay. Somebody says something wrong, that's okay too. There is a deep acceptance of everything. There is a deep okayness with everything. So no matter what happens, it's okay and fine at the deepest level. So this sense of wrongness, it dissolves. This wrongness, it dissolves. Because you learn to forgive, and in a liberated state, it's automatically forgiven. You know, the forgiveness becomes more and more powerful because there is a deep recognition of and a deep presence of okayness. So therefore, to make journey into liberation easier and smoother, it is very advisable and good to practice forgiveness of any type of wrongness. Any type of wrongness at any level. So I invite all of you now into a practice where we will come together into a sense of a certain wrongness at any place, at any depth. And we will employ forgiveness, and then we will take an additional step into a liberated awareness. So make yourself comfortable, prepare for meditation, and when you're ready, you can close your eyes and take a few moments to slow down, to become more present, to bring your attention to your breath. And when you're ready, you may feel into yourself, or you may recall something that is in your field of resonance. To bring your attention to a certain wrongness somewhere within. And as a first step to allow it and accept it, that this wrongness is here And we're not trying to avoid it, escape it, postpone it, deny it, run away from it, or get rid of it. Simply accepting, allowing for a few moments this wrongness to be here. And you may feel that there is more space around it. And in itself, it is already slowly healing, gently transforming or changing into a certain acceptance or a certain okayness that after all, maybe it's not as bad, or you have now strength to be okay with that, or you feel more supported to be okay with that. And therefore now you can forgive to whomever has caused it, or to however it happened, and to whenever it happened. You can forgive to anyone, anytime, anywhere. However it happened, whoever has caused it. And forgiving feels good, it feels healthy. Because something was kept unwillingly or subconsciously or very consciously. And it feels healthy and good to forgive and let go. And in this process, you are changing your resonance. There's no more resistance. You're increasing your presence and you're changing your resonance step by step into higher vibration, even if it's just 0.001%, but it is already a higher vibration. And therefore, there is a bigger sense of okayness. There is an overall sense of okayness. And I want you to familiarize with this overall sense of okayness. And the last step is to recognize that you are already noticing this deeper place within. You are already aware of this experience, and this awareness, the light of noticing, is the deepest home, is the unconditioned light, unconditioned background of experience of this moment, present moment. Forgiveness is one of the pathway and the doorway to this unconditioned awareness of the present experience. It becomes even beautiful to witness this present experience. This present experience has a certain beauty to it. Even the pain has a certain beauty to it. Healing has a certain beauty to it. In the unconditioned seeing, everything has, every experience has a certain beauty to it. can be okay with not being okay. You can say, I am okay with not being okay. I accept unacceptable. You can also say, I love myself with my problems. I love myself with my limitations. It is the unconditional being. It's also good to soften up, to relax, to release any pressure. To relax, release, go. And to also take it easy. You don't have to do too much. So there is a right balance of how to stay on a higher vibration, how not to push yourself too much, how not to demand from yourself too much, how to stay on a higher vibration. It's similar like children, when they get hurt, they cry, but then in a minute they can be happy and laugh again. So they don't stay crying unnecessarily too long. Very spontaneous way of releasing, letting go. Something happens, you go deep, accept, forgive, release, and you are free again. No need to ponder any longer. No need to sink any deeper. And that is a way of learning how to stay on a higher vibration, how to stay liberated. Moment to moment, seeing what is happening. Moment to moment awareness. So when you are ready on your own time, you can start coming back from meditation. And it is equally important to know when to shift your attention away from healing, away from demanding more from yourself, a way of staying in a healing place. To heal only as much as needed and then be healthy and happy. So being free has certain openness of not mingling or pondering onto lower vibrations unnecessarily. So that's what it's meant by many sages when they say to deal with things as they come. Whatever comes, whatever goes. To deal with things as they come. Something comes, you deal with it, and it's time to let it go. No need to hold, ponder, wait, keep, postpone. Deal things with things as they come. As things arise, as things finish. Human beings have a certain stickiness to everything. Yeah, it's in the human nature to be a bit sticky. It's a bit hard to let go naturally for human beings because there is a tendency to keep. There is a tendency to accumulate. There is a tendency to hold. So it's a bit difficult to let go quickly, to resolve quickly, to not to keep unnecessarily. Yeah, that doesn't feel so normal, isn't it? When we examine the human nature, you know, every relationship is a proof of that. That in every relationship, one always hangs on to all the on their partners, no matter how many issues are being created, even if more issues are mounting up. It's so hard to let go in that moment. It might be due to the fears and pains, because in the unconditioned space, it is very healthy to let go in that moment. It doesn't mean that everything needs to be let go or the whole relationship needs to collapse. It doesn't mean that. It's just to let go of that situation or to have some space right away. And then you can come back. But then the fear kicks in, the pain kicks in, and then there's all these attachments. And that's why it's difficult to live freely. So attachments are one of the big obstacles of liberation. It's a bit in a human programming to kind of attach to objects and things and house and car and favorite this, favorite that, and then to favorite people and favorite everything. So many attachments. It kind of happens automatically. It's a bit of a programming, automated programming. So therefore, in Buddhism, there is a big emphasis on non-attachment. Non-attachment. And of course, in Buddhism and other monastic traditions, they invented the monastic traditions, to disattach from life, from needing to have a common life, so to speak, a lay life. So that was the extreme way of disattachment. It doesn't mean that you need to become a monk or a nun to be free. And that's quite unnecessary for 99% of everyone. 99.9%. Because you can still live a life and be free. That is becoming more and more available and accessible. With less and less attachments. One of the biggest attachments is the attachment to the outcome, or the attachment to the next moment. Yeah, you will notice that there is a certain investment in the next moment. Everyone has a certain investment in the next moment. So there's a certain attachment to the next moment, to the outcome of the next moment. Because what would you be without the next moment? What would happen without the next moment? I will tell you, you would be free without the next moment. And in the meantime, we can explore a little bit more of letting go. And letting go of the next moment. And letting go of this moment. So you may notice that the mind gets a bit lightheaded. Letting go of the next moment and letting go of this moment. Now, there's nothing to hold. It feels light. Okay, Janine.
Thank you, Mindo. I had gone back previously to 3 events in my life and forgiven, and surrounded it with love and released it. But today I went back, and the beautiful part with you and this meditation was that I forgave myself in it today.
Yes, wonderful. Yes, yourself is the next level of forgiveness. Yes, to forgive yourself might be the next level, so to speak. Yes, thank you for bringing it up, Jenny. Yes. It's a very liberating statement to say, I forgive myself for everything that I've done and for everything that happened in my life. If you want, you may also take a notepad and to write down all the things that you need to forgive yourself for. But don't be too strict on yourself. Don't go too deep either. Some things are deeper, of course. Some things may need some healing. But it's a very beautiful thing to make a statement to yourself that I forgive myself for everything that I've done in my life. Not necessarily that you have done many bad things. It's just a wonderful way of letting go. It might bring up a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety, like, oh, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And that's exactly that sense of wrongness comes back up again. It's a way of forgiveness. If you have done something wrong or if you haven't done anything wrong, it's still good to forgive yourself. You don't have to feel wrong about forgiving yourself. For some people, it may trigger some anxiety, like, did I do something wrong? Is there anything wrong? So you should get used to forgiving. It's a very healthy practice. See, right now I have a kitty jumping up and she got very excited about forgiveness. It might mean that she's up to something naughty because she knows she will be forgiven. Using her opportunity. Her higher self is using the opportunity. Yes. So today we have explored one way of liberation with forgiveness. It's one of the doorways. Yes, it's one of the doorways. Yes, and additionally, we have discussed about letting go of the next moment and even this moment as a way of liberation as well.
Mindo,
Uh-huh.
maybe you can say a few words about what if what could you share about forgiveness when it's coming from one party, but procrastinating that from the other party, and how
She is all over the place.
and how that in other levels and dimensions, it's still kind of held, trapped, because it's not coming to resolution from both sides, from both parties, where one, has maybe forgiven it, but the other is still holding it, and yet it still remains somewhere in the field in between. Do you have anything to share about that?
Yes. That's one of the big challenges, that sometimes there is a two-way connection, and that's where the concept of karma comes in. That something is connected in two-way. Sometimes it's a two-way connection, and that's where a concept of karma may come in, and if possible, it's always very good to seek for forgiveness, to contact a person and to say that we need to resolve this, or I would like to resolve this, and if another person would ignore, postpone, or try to avoid, it might be liberating to simply send a letter, a message, or simply to say, I will practice forgiveness to you, or to this situation, or to whatever happened. So if the other party is not willing or trying to avoid it for any reason, it's good to simply state your intention that I will practice forgiveness, and I'm going to do all the healing that I can do and forgive. So this way, there is a relief. There is an energetic relief of we may say, responsibility, that your side is fully dedicated and is going to do that, and that is your clear intention. So that is the best thing that one may do. That is the best thing that one may do, and healing may happen to a large degree, and maybe after some time the other party will agree to resolve. But you always need to do the best that you can do. And in this complex situation, as Lyonne pointed out, your best option is to state very clearly the intention of forgiveness, resolution, and that you will work on it to the best ability that you can. So that is the best thing that one may do. Yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of courage to forgive. Sometimes one needs time. Sometimes one gets so much hurt that they just want to escape and not meet it anymore. It can be various reasons, and so whatever really happens, if you make this clear statement, it goes in a very deep dimension and place, and it gives a certain liberation, having this clear statement and intention. So that is the best option that may be done. And another option is a bit more advanced. That's where the deeper energy work may come in, to dedicate a meditative time to invite, or we may say, to meet in spirit. Yes, to meet in spirit, and to yourself to go into meditation, to invite another person in spirit. If they're physically, consciously are not ready, to invite them in spirit, and to invite all the support team, we can say, that you resonate with, to do as much healing as possible. So that's a little bit more advanced, energetic, meditative healing as well. Yeah, so the clear intention is the best thing. Let's have this clear intention.